I beat technology. And
Yeah.
here we go, right? It's happening. It's happening live as we speak on YouTube. Yay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Lori. Welcome to Training Tuesday. It's one of my fun times this week. And it's been a week too. So I'm really looking forward to talking some shop with you guys today. Heck yeah. For those of you who are joining us for the millionth time, so glad that you're here. I know a lot of you watch on replay. You've been telling me, I subscribe, Gina. I see it every week. Beautiful. I love it. I'm glad you're getting the notifications. I do come live every week, and Lori's here almost every week with me too. So I almost said we, because it's like a we thing. So yes, please do come on, watch the replays, get all the juice, drink it all up. And if you're joining us for the first time, this is where we have fun for an hour as colleagues every week on Tuesdays. Practitioner Training Tuesday, I call it. Lori calls it Tidbit Tuesday, which I think is actually cuter. And we just go over a couple tidbits. We're going to talk shop. We're going to talk functional anatomy. We're going to talk regular anatomy. We're going to talk client case studies. Whatever's on your mind is what we're here for. And in most recent past, I've asked if an hour is the right amount of time or if it's too long, and everybody's like, an hour or more is better. Cool. And I think that's why some of you guys watch on the replay, because you know you can speed it up. If you don't know you can do that, the speed dial on YouTube has saved my life because it's a way of cramming in a whole lot more information in a shorter period of time. I will highlight and warn is kind of a strong word, you all, that the faster I speak, the more unfriendly I sound. So as you're bringing this up on replay and you're speeding it up on YouTube, I might not sound as full of love as I am, depending on the replay speed you choose. But that said, it's a good way to get it all in. So I'm glad for you to be here watching the replay or live or both. And for those of you who I've not met before, I'm Gina Schatz. I am your host for every Tidbit Tuesday, every Training Tuesday. And I work clinically as both a manual and movement practitioner. And along the way, hey, Noelle, and along the way, I developed a method that works. I trademarked it. It's good juice. So I'm qualified to be here to talk to you guys, which is really all you want to know. And that's cool. So any questions that you have, always put them in the chat if you're not on camera or using your microphone. And if you're watching on the replay, put them in the comments, because I go in and answer them all. And I love your questions because it lets me know how you're thinking strategically, which is really the key. If I were to impart one thing only for each of you as practitioners to solve the problems you want to solve, it's strategic thinking. There's no magic answer that you just don't yet have, that you aren't privy to yet. It's not like that. It's strategically thinking through all of the information that you know, the way we're designed, that gets you to solve the problem. I promise you that's it. So when you guys share your questions with me, it helps me know how you're thinking strategically, and that's how I get to serve you. And so thank you for that. Thank you for those of you who play with us in the Student Lounge, our online group. When you ask questions about case studies, I think it was Nanette who recently said, here's my answer, please critique me. So critiquing can sometimes sound like criticism. I'm not here to criticize, but I am here to support you in your strategic thinking so that you can address every client that comes to you as the pop quiz that it is, armed and ready to give the right answer so that you can create the results you're looking for. Yeah. So if you have any questions that are coming up for you today, send them off into the chat or come off mute and let me know what they are. I'm going to start riffing here first, just because people typically want to come and listen first before you ask. Totally get it. So I'm going to start riffing a little bit first. And I thought of something fun for us today. Super fun. So for those of you who've heard this story before, bear with me. And for those of you who haven't, this is where this stems from. This is where today's tidbit stems from, if you will. When I first started as a therapist, I was working in an orthopedic physicians network of offices. So I was the therapist that was running around town to his 3 offices and seeing clients. And it was, just to set the stage a little bit, it was workers' comp, it was insurance claims, it was motor vehicle accidents, it was that type of an office. So, you know, it wasn't zen, it wasn't relaxing. And the way the structure was for the business, which I did not set up, was a little bit of churn them in, get them done, get them out. And that's very hard on practitioners. So for those of you who work like that, my hat's off to you. That is a hard road. And so you don't have a whole lot of time. You got to think fast on your feet, which is great. That's I mean, I'm happy for the end results. At the time though, it was hard, it was arduous. And so one of the ways that I really stretched the 7 minutes that I had with a client, legitimately, I only had 7 minutes. The way that I stretched that time was I used hypervigilance, and I literally watched every single thing that they were doing or not doing from the moment I opened up the waiting room door and saw them sitting in their chair. And sometimes what I would do if it was a new client is I would ask the receptionist how long they had to point out who they were. Oh, it's the person in the blue shirt or the red sweater. And how long had they been there, so that I knew how long they had decided to get back into their habit of whatever that was. Everybody has a habit where they slink into their comfort zone. And for those of you who are working with generous amounts of time with people, the same thing happens. When your clients come in and you're doing an intake with them, which we get to do every time, at first, the client's going to be like really attentive. And so the idea is to talk to them just enough and entertain them just enough to get them out of their awareness of their body to a point. Obviously, we all want to focus on body awareness, but just to a point where they're in the flow of what they're sharing with you, so that they're getting back to their habits, whatever their habit is, to stand on one leg or to turn one toe out, or, whatever one foot, toes headed in a different direction, whatever their habit is. And if your intake is while they're sitting, same thing. Do they start to lean while you're talking to them? All those things mean something structurally. So even before you ask them a question that's relative to their body or why they're there, or even before you actually speak to them, like you're looking through the people in the waiting room door, all of that is information about what's happening for them structurally. And sometimes they don't even put words to all of that. You just observe it, because what they're thinking about is their active pain. What they're not seeing is their habitual patterns. And the habitual patterns are a treasure trove of information. And that's what I want to talk about today. Lori, your eyes are like excited. Is that because you're excited or because you didn't know that yet? I think you knew that already.
No, yeah, I mean, I did, but it's super interesting because I just did it. I'm like, I'm very attentive. And then I'm like, I mean, I might have been leaning in because I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. Or I might just be leaning in because this feels more of my habit. So even as we're sitting here, that's why I'm kind of giggling to myself that my lean in.
You tattletaled on yourself. You caught
I
yourself.
did. I was like, oh, look, I just did it. Yeah.
We all do it.
Really.
We all do it. I do it too. And that's the idea about awareness, right? Like you get to be who you are. I don't ever want anyone to feel like you got to be a robot, because that we're not, we're human. And we do have habits. And so as long as you can be aware, self-aware enough to catch yourself, then you can also get some intel about what's happening for you as a practitioner, or even as someone else's client. I mean, just because I'm a practitioner doesn't mean I'm not getting body work. I am many days a week, because I get to take care of my vessel too. And so the more I can recognize about my vessel and share that with the practitioner, the more intel the practitioner has to generate a really effective treatment plan. So yeah, we might catch ourselves doing a thing, and the point is to catch it and then change it. Like choose better, choose what's optimal. So let's talk about a couple of those body habits. And I'm going to just for now not talk about cell phones and computers, which seems ridiculous because that's literally what most of us spend our time doing right now. No matter what our job is, we seem to spend a lot of time on these devices, which is altering our posture. I remember the very first time I ever noticed it. I've shared this story one other place before. If it was here, forgive me for the repetition. But I remember during the pandemic walking my pup, and we were walking in an area that has a lot of, it's like an outdoor storefront, lots of stores lined up together, not like a mall, it's outside. So we were on the sidewalk outside, but everything was closed and all the lights were off. So it looked different. It was sort of like, wow, it's like, I've never walked past these stores and have them be closed in the daylight. Like at night, of course, after hours, not in the daylight. So as we were walking, I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking at all these storefronts to just see, like, did they take their product off the shelf? Like, what did they do? Is it just closed and it's just closed, like abandoned, or did they move out? So I'm sort of peering in the window. And as I'm doing that to a couple stores, I see there's another person. I'm like, oh, that's super interesting. There's somebody else walking. And I look around and I don't see anybody. And I realize the person I saw was me, but my posture had changed so much from sitting at a freaking computer for all those months that I didn't even recognize my own reflection. And I thought, whoa, this is slippery slope. This is not okay. So I hesitate to keep us off of the conversation today that relates to social computers and cell phone devices and other devices. And I want to just pause that for a second because we can really go down a rabbit hole. Because there's other things to pick up on from folks that don't have to do with their technology. And so one of them is, and I'll ask you guys this question. I want you guys to tell me what you think it is, and then I'll fill in the gaps, okay? So one of the postures that is pretty common is when folks are sitting. Oh, Lori, I think you're doing it. When folks are sitting, they lean. Yeah. So why do you think folks lean when they sit? Either they brace on their arm like you were just doing, Lori, or they lean on their chair like I'm doing right now, or they're even in your car. I notice it in my car. I'm leaning onto the, what's it called? It's not the dashboard. It's the, what's it called? Gosh, I can't believe I don't know what, console. Oh my goodness, I missed my brain. Yeah, I'm leaning on the console. And interestingly enough, sometimes I'm leaning in that direction, but my elbow's not even on the console. My body's just in the shape as if it could be. So what does that tell you structurally? When someone's default, they're comfortable falling into what seems to be their supported posture. When someone's doing that and it's a lean, what does that tell you is going on in their body? And here's what I'll just preface this by saying, any posture is chosen because we feel the most support or the most comfort in it. And because we know that we're designed symmetrically, symmetrical should be balanced. Symmetrical should be the absence of discomfort. Symmetrical should be the most supported because that's how we're designed, right? We stand on two legs because it's two columns that hold up the building, for example. So if we're choosing to not stand on both legs, and in this situation, what we're talking about right now, in this scenario, it's the leaning. We're not sitting equally on both of our sit bones. We're not sitting equally on our pelvis. Why would we do that? Why would leaning off of the symmetry of the pelvis feel comfortable and secure? Based on what structurally would that create a sense of stability? Now the Jeopardy music is playing. And Noelle, I see that you're here too. If you want to use the chat to chime in, you're welcome to do that if you're not in a place where you can talk. Just type it in the chat. Why would leaning to the side?
I do notice, so I do that when I'm seated, and it's rarely to the right. I'm just thinking, I'm like, do I go right? Nope, this is my comfort zone. And if I'm standing and I'm choosing to lean, it's also to my left. Like I'm listing to the left. And I'm like thinking like, okay, why do I do that? Because I'm okay here for a little bit. And then it starts to feel hard isn't the right word, because this doesn't necessarily feel hard.
Mm-hmm.
So super interesting. Why do I, okay. I'm gonna mute and ponder just for a
Okay.
So this is Noelle.
Hey, Noelle.
Hi. So I also lean to the left, Lori, and I have significant shoulder problems in my left side as well. Get regular treatment, have for years, get regular body work. So I'm thinking about this and I'm like, I'm a big driver. I'm a big computer sitter. I'm right-handed. So no matter what I'm doing, I'm supporting my body with my left. So that way I have mobilization with my right hand to type or to grab things or to hold things or to do whatever I want to do, which makes my left side very crunched up and contracted and my right side very extended and mobile. And that's also obviously where I'm shifting my weight. I also have a really bad habit with my left side is when I sleep, I put my arm up over my head and I hold a pillow over my head. And I do that with the sore arm all the time. I just got body work yesterday and we had this whole conversation during my session as to all the bad things I was doing with my left arm that could be contributing to how it was feeling. So Yeah.
Okay. So Noelle, what do you think is at the root of that? What's with the leaning?
Is it supporting my weight so that way I have more mobility on my dominant moving arm?
Interesting. So the next question is, why would you need your weight supported?
Sacrum, spine, hips out of alignment.
Oh, if you had only asked, if you'd only stated that without the question mark at the end, making it a question. I love the, it's not a guess, but I love the answer.
Yeah, next time I'll take the question mark off.
Yeah, that's right.
Baby
Lori, what
steps.
about you? What do you think about the leaning? What's the leaning?
For me, I think it's the opposite. So my right side, my right shoulder, my right psoas, it is, I'll just say compromised. That's not quite, it's, I'm challenged, right? Like I've got things going on there. I have things going on my left too, also. I was thinking about what you said, Gina. I think it was in one, it definitely was in one of the trainings, how we when there's pain, we compensate.
Oh,
So
wait.
when right. And like, I've heard that before, but I was like, oh, that's what my body's doing. Like if I've got discomfort over here, I'm certainly compensating for, so then that, oh geez, which side is weak, right? Like this side from not working, or this side from overcompensating, or both, right? Or
It
is
ends
it
up being both. It ends
it
up being
ends up being both, right?
so
And to why, right? Why?
yeah, well,
I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm like, I did not, I went all around it and not back to why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw out the kind of obvious answer is there's a misalignment. And yeah, there's, oh, okay. All right, hold on. It's clicking here. Because I'm thinking about I'm going to go down a rabbit hole a little bit, but when I'm working on optimal standing, and when I'm optimal standing, I don't feel the urge to shift. I bet that's true in sitting. If I were optimal sitting, oh, hey, I bet I wouldn't feel this urge to sit. I'm going to give that a shot. Yeah, right. Because my body and my bones are aligned where they need to be. The muscles that are designed to support that are where they need to be. And then it feels less effortful, effortless.
Yes. Okay, this is so gorgeous. So let's wrap this all back up again.
Yeah.
So notice, nothing wrong, by the way, this is beautiful. Notice that both of you commented on your shoulders, this shoulder, that shoulder, right side, left side, whatever. Totally fine, normal, common, whatever. Irrelevant to leaning, right? You're not sitting on your shoulder, so that's not relevant to the pressure and the strength that's required to sit. So just notice the clients do that too. And it's really easy then for practitioners then to squirrel, like, oh my God, I have to do something with the shoulder. You might have a shoulder. I believe you both have a shoulder thing. I'm sure you do. Not why you lean though.
Right.
Shoulders have nothing to do with why you lean, because you're not working on your shoulders, needing your shoulders when you're sitting. So just know that. So that goes back to what we shared a couple of weeks ago. Just know the anatomy and know the function of that anatomy so that you can see if that function's happening. I believe you that you have something going on in your shoulder and that's not functionally related to sitting. So that's not the cause. If I want to fix the problem, I got to find out what's causing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You do have a shoulder thing going on, but that's not causing the problem of slouching. Something else is causing that. So
yeah,
that takes,
sorry, Gina, I slouch on because my core gets tired.
And that's it. And that's it. So I said lean at first, and then I switched it to slouch. So I hope I wasn't confusing us. Leaning is what I was talking about, which also is, well, like you tell me, when you lean to the side, so start sitting upright, without leaning on anything. Your elbows are not touching anything. Your hands aren't touching anything. They're resting up, palm side up on your thighs, and you're on both your hips. Your cheeks are equal on your bum. Great. And now notice your spine and your side body. And now go ahead and lean either on your hand or on the arm of a chair. Did you feel like you went closer to the sky, or did your body move closer to the floor?
Down.
Down.
Yeah, down.
Floor.
Yeah. So we know that which muscles are involved in bringing the body away from the floor, away from gravity.
Away from gravity. The spinal muscles, paraspinal, just upright, core, that's extension and flexion of the spine.
Which classification of muscles, Laura? Which group of muscles? Which, not the names of the muscles, although I...
Thoracic. Thoracic.
No, type of muscle, type of muscle group, of muscle group. Muscles are divided in two classifications based on their actions.
Oh, intrinsic or phasic. Is that what you're talking about? So it's, I'm sorry, it's intrinsic muscles that hold us upright, that oppose gravity. Yeah, intrinsic.
Which you were calling out by name, and that's cool.
Right.
The intrinsic muscles, though, as a group, as a classification of muscles, their job is twofold: posture and balance. And posture, we know what posture is. We know how to align the body in optimal posture. Posture. What's functionally happening, though, while we're in that optimal posture is we're opposing gravity. We're opposing the pull of gravity. So in posture, while you can't see those muscles physically doing anything because you're not, pumping iron or doing presses of any kind, the seeing, if you will, of those muscles is their opposing gravity, the uprightness of the body. How far away from gravity can you be and look effortless and aligned? Aligned, you're in posture. If you're in posture, you're using intrinsic muscles. As soon as we move towards the floor, in this direction, or in this direction, or in this direction, as soon as we move towards the floor, we're no longer engaging those muscles. Gravity is winning. In the arm wrestle between intrinsic muscles and gravity, as we lower towards the floor, gravity's winning, and we're strengthening, we're losing the strength game. So earlier, Laura, when you said, I can sit like this before I slouch, and then after a while, I feel, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Laura, maybe turn off your video and see if you can get some bandwidth back. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yeah, yeah, it locked. Yep.
Okay, so when we're sitting equally, not leaning on anything, we're using muscles. We're required to use strength in those intrinsic muscles to oppose gravity. And as they fatigue, which they shouldn't, by the way, as long as we're on the earth, guys, because gravity is a constant, which means our intrinsic strength should be too. As long as we're on the earth, we should be opposing gravity well. And as soon as we stop doing that and we lean, we weaken because we're no longer strengthening. We're no longer engaging muscles, the intrinsic muscles. So you said it when you said, it's not that it's hard to sit upright, but after a while, it feels like effort.
Yeah.
Right, because you're opposing gravity, which is constant. You don't get a break. That's an effort. Well, there's a sledgehammer somewhere. Who has a sledgehammer in their background? Anybody?
Here, I'll mute. Maybe it's.
Sounds like a sledgehammer. All right. Nobody hears that?
Yeah, I do. No, I'll mute for a second. I think it's you.
I think my computer fan kicked on.
Oh, it was you. Yeah. Okay.
Like computer fan
sledgehammer. Same thing. Jackhammer.
Jackhammer.
That is sledgehammer.
Yeah. I had my phone sitting on the computer and the computer fan kicked on.
Oh, that's what it was.
Got it. Yeah.
Totally quiet now. Okay. So the first thing we know then, when we see someone who's chosen a comfortable stature
Mhm.
and they're in the waiting room waiting for you, or they're talking to you during their intake and they start leaning, or they're on Tuesday training and they start leaning, what does that tell us about their body functionally? What does that tell us?
Their core is weak.
Specifically, their intrinsic muscles are not engaged.
Okay.
Right? And the reason I say it with such specificity is talking to a client about their weak core when they do plank poses in yoga 5 days a week, they're not going to hear you. They're going to think you're full of it. And now they don't trust what you have to say next.
Yeah.
So be thoughtful about in our messaging that we don't want to say your core is weak, because they're going to be like, no, it's not. And it might not be. They might actually be able to do plank, but that's a different engagement than opposing gravity upright with 4 curves. We don't always have 4 curves of the spine in plank pose. We should, we don't always. And you can recruit other muscles to do plank pose. You can recruit other muscles to sit upright too. So just be thoughtful about labeling people as weak. But we do get to identify those muscles are not engaged right now. They might be strong otherwise, but they're not engaged right now. How come? Oh, because it feels hard. Oh, so it's too much work for them. Oh, so they need more strength. Slightly different invitation than your core is weak, which I used to, it pisses people off. I know that. Trust me, don't do it. I took the heat for all of us. Don't say it like that. Okay. So right away, we know if someone's chosen posture is a slouch or a lean or a slouch forward, that they're not using their intrinsic muscles. What are the implications of not using intrinsic muscles? What does that lead to?
From personal experience, it leads to injury.
Leads to injury and pain.
Yeah.
For real. And so then the key is, or the trick, I should say, is someone comes in injured and in pain, and we say to them, oh, well, you're slouching, you're leaning, you're not using your muscles. And they're like, right, because it hurts. So also not the right way to introduce this part of the conversation when someone's in pain. They've already injured themselves. Why does not using intrinsic muscles lead to pain and injury? Functionally, what do they do that in their absence, pain and injury would be guaranteed?
Support.
Okay, support what?
Well, they would support the skeletal system. They would support the bony structures of your body.
Yeah, their intrinsic muscles are deep inside. They're hard to palpate, most of them. So yeah, do offer some support to the skeletal system. So how would not engaging them fully lead to pain and injury?
Thinking of how to say things.
Yes, I know, right?
Right. So if they're helping to support, that skeletal system, that those bony structures, the mainframe of your body, and they're not strong enough to do so, now you're compromised. Your balance is compromised. Your movement is compromised, and it makes you more vulnerable to injury.
Awesome. So yes, if we're not using our intrinsic muscles, we're not structurally stabilizing the mainframe, as you said it. Noelle, I love that. The main skeletal system, that axial skeleton, is not supported. How is the axial skeleton not being supported lead to injury and pain?
It leaves it vulnerable to imbalance. It leaves it vulnerable to impact from the environment. It leaves it in a place where it can't function at its best in all the way that it's supposed to.
So I'm kind of visualizing it, right? So you've got your muscles, or not your muscles, but your bones here. And your intrinsic muscles are supporting them. They're holding them, not locking them in place. That's not their design, but they're supporting them. They're like nestled in. And when they're not as nestled in, then the bones that they are supporting could go this way. They could go this way. They could shift around. And that misalignment could press on nerves. It could cause one muscle to overcontract and one to cause muscle pain, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, pain, or even, like if you're walking and your muscle, make it easier to sprain something, twist something, break something from the environment.
Yep, for sure. So yes, you guys, beautiful. So a couple things I heard you say, and now I understand more fully what you meant, Noelle, by vulnerable, because yes, more likely to be out of alignment and then therefore create other forms of impact. And impact itself, like, blunt force impact, is largely protection from the phasic muscles, the big guys. Largely. That's the buffer, the meat, if you will, right? The sack. However, what you guys just both described, with the bones not being aligned next to each other to be able to function, Noelle, I think you said it's imbalanced and not functioning properly. And Lori, you used your hands to show the alignment of the two bones. We know that the bones must be in optimal alignment, which is a job of the intrinsic muscles. We know that the bones must be in optimal alignment for the lever system to work evenly.
Okay.
And for phasic muscles too, to strengthen.
Right.
So if somebody's internal structure is even slightly misaligned and they're working out readily, even lifting external weight like at a gym, they're not getting all the bang for their buck. Because in the misalignment of those two bones, the lever system is slightly off, which means it can't strengthen fully. There can't be maximum availability of contraction in muscles that are attached to bones that are out of alignment. And do muscles move the bones? Absolutely, which is why we get to strengthen the muscles to bring the bones into alignment, and then keep strengthening the muscles to keep the bones in alignment. And as we're talking about the intrinsic muscles, that's where we're like, stop, start, stop, start. I'm aligned, I'm strengthening, and I'm engaging the muscles. I'm not aligned, I'm not strengthening the muscles, and I'm moving my bones out of alignment. But now I'm aligned again, and I'm going to try to pull the bones back into alignment. But I haven't been here very long because it feels like effort. So now I'm out of alignment, right? And so it's like, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. When it comes to the postural muscles, the intrinsic muscles. And the intrinsic muscles are the ones that hold the bones in alignment. It's not the phasic muscles.
Right.
Phasic muscles can pull on bones for sure, but the alignment of the bones is a function of the intrinsic muscles. We've never said it like that before. I kind of like how
it's nice.
It's good, right? It's like flowing, it's coming. Yeah. And I'll share a personal experience. Let me just add something first, though. This is true for all constitutions. Hypermobile constitutions, hypomobile constitutions, and regular normal range, healthy range, I should say, constitutions. We all have intrinsic muscles. We all have phasic muscles. We all have the choice to use them or not, for sure. In hypermobile constitutions, because of what's happening with the connective tissue for them at the joint structures, they really rely on the muscles around those joint structures, because the ligaments are like having a vacation, barely participating. Thank God our skin is tight to hold them together, right? So in a hypermobile constitution, this is more important. It's important equally across all constitutions, and it will be readily chasing it feels a little bit like a hamster wheel when this conversation comes up with pain remedying on hypermobile constitutions because of what is also happening with their connective tissue. If you would like to know more about that, please look at previous Tuesday trainings where we absolutely talked at length about constitution types and hypermobility, because today I want to focus on where we're at. So the example that I want to give you is that when the bones are out of alignment, the muscles can't fully strengthen.
Yeah.
And the intrinsic muscles are the ones that hold the bones in alignment. So the intrinsic muscles must be engaged. They must be holding the skeletal system in alignment. In our method, we know that we work on that alignment if it's off. So does chiropractic. They're very different modalities, but those two modalities are the ones that I know that address structural imbalances by way of alignment. And then you get to strengthen them there in the new alignment. So this is the example that I just experienced in my own body, also working with a Shots Method practitioner, which was super fun to experience that with her so that we could all be like, wow, it works. And here's the jam. I'm hypermobile, so there's part of it. And my spine is just as susceptible to poor posture as everybody else's. We just talked about it. We lean, we slouch, we don't oppose gravity because it's a constant and we're not. Okay, cool. And we were working on spine extension. So the muscles along my spine, the erectors, paraspinals as a whole needed to be strengthened. Most people's do, by the way, no matter their constitution. But mine definitely did. And we were finding that in this particular session. So smartly, this practitioner put me in a position to contract those muscles, which was awesome. She had also just previously found a misalignment in a segment of my spine and had addressed it with our method. So we knew that there was a misalignment and it wasn't there anymore because she took care of it. And now we're into the strength part of the session, which is exactly how we should go. Alignment, strength, function. That's our formula. We've talked about that in previous Tuesday trainings as well. Okay. If all that just made your brain confused, set it aside. Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about postural muscles, intrinsic muscles, hold bones in alignment. And if bones aren't in alignment, you can't get full strength, even in phasic muscles. That's the conversation we're up to right now. So I was in a position where I was laying face down, fully extended arms and legs. So my shoulders were in flexion, my feet were pointing away from me. And we were strengthening my spine. I was doing sort of like reverse sit-ups, if you will. I was doing spine extension. Could barely lift my body off the floor. Talk about feeling like a 10-pound weight. Ooh, baby. My arms were out in front of me. I couldn't use them. I could only use my spine to lift. Targeted muscles. It was actually really freaking smart and accurate and amazing. And I was like, wow, I am in trouble. Like I can barely lift. I was lifting, but not gracefully and not high off the floor either. And then all of a sudden I moved in a certain way and we both heard my back click gently 3 times. I didn't grab onto the chair and twist myself and force a self-correction. I was just strengthening muscles and my spine went boop, 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 because muscles move bone. And I was targeting the muscles that move those bones that were out of alignment. And when those muscles contracted, they invited the bones back into their alignment. So now my spine's aligned and the muscles that do that alignment are playing. And the very next time I went to go lift, it was like 3 feet of difference. Incredible. Like, whoop, like I floated. I was still working. My spine was still engaging. I mean, we were still targeting the same muscles. But the amount of extra strength that I seemed to have all of a sudden after my bones were aligned was visibly, dramatically different. And that's why I was so excited I got to share it with one of our practitioners, because she was like, wow, that's the formula. Like, yeah, that's the formula. You must be in alignment. The bones must be aligned to be able to get to the strength. for those muscles to contract fully in function. And the formula works slightly differently as well. You got to be aligned first to be able to engage safely so that you can function well. So the formula works in a few different ways. In today's conversation, our point was misaligned bones inhibits our ability to get full strength, which actually perpetuates the problem. Because if those muscles aren't strong, as you guys said, there's less function, there's imbalance, there's more vulnerability. So we've got to align the bones, target those muscles and strengthen them, and then continue to strengthen them while the structure is aligned. And for those who are personal trainers who join us, the same thing goes. If your clients are looking to make gains, as they call it in a gym setting, if your clients are looking to make gains, which would all be phasic, by the way, you can't engage phasically if the bones aren't aligned. So that goes for alignment on the machines, and it goes for structural alignment, like inside the spine and the exoskeleton. And my example that just happened in my body is a prime example. My experience is a prime example of that. When the bones along my spine aligned, my muscles had way more capacity to engage. And when they're contracting, they get stronger. That's how you make gains. You don't make gains by adding more weight outside. You make gains by using the muscles on the inside. And that can only be done if the bones are aligned. I just said it both directions. Close the loop on that. Does that make sense to you guys? Is that ringing bells? Opening up ideas? Yeah, what's landing for you? What's landing? What clicked?
Well, one of the things I feel like clicked for me is how overlooked maybe the strength of the intrinsic muscles are. And when everybody focuses on those phasic muscles. And so there's self-reflection, of course, of how I can first adopt that in myself and then try and understand how that's working on your client, on my clients.
Awesome. Great. Tons more to go, Noelle. That's literally our year together.
Yeah. I'm so
Awesome.
excited.
I know. It's going to be so juicy. Lori, anything for you? It's okay if not.
No, a lot. It's like I've heard this before, and it's a good refresher and reminder, and it's a good refresher for my body. And I think you've said it over the past month or two, like we can come to a yoga class, we could go to Pilates, we can go that one time. And that's perfect. I'm in alignment, I'm using everything, and then I'm here and I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm choosing that. So for the past, I don't know, half an hour, I'm like, I'm going to sit on my sit bones, and it doesn't feel like super hard, right? I'm not really working. I'm getting a little sweaty. So that's intrinsic muscles. I'm noticing if I'm starting to like pitch forward because then my upper back starts to kick in, and like all the other little things that are like kicking in because my core and my intrinsics are, I don't know if they're, I can't quite tell if they're getting fatigued or if I'm just kind of shifting between habit, you know, what I'm used to. So it like all of this is like super interesting. What also landed today, or what I'm hearing and what I've been hearing, is messaging in all different ways, not with just with it, my messaging certainly, and how to communicate with ourselves, with our clients, with other people. Yeah,
messaging for the win. That's why we focus on it a lot for our purposes. Go ahead, Noelle.
Yeah, I love the messaging exercises and really trying to refocus how I'm speaking. I need that immensely, and I'm really grateful for that as well, Lori. So thanks for pointing that out. I was listening to what Lori said, how she was trying to sit up straight for this, call and such. And I did that as well, at the beginning when we all, I was making sure I was aligned. I wasn't leaning on anything. And then my phone started making noise because my computer, which is what I had because I'm on my phone, and it was propped up against my laptop. But as soon as that started making noises and I had to pick my phone up, as soon as my phone started to get heavy in my hand, then I pulled my knee up, I'm resting my phone, I'm there. Now I'm leaning over here, and now I'm in a complete pretzel because my phone was heavy. And so that's how I changed my body. So interesting how you were being so focused on staying aligned. And as soon as I engaged in something, I lost that. And then that would be habit, I'm sure. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, super cool. I call it telling on ourselves. Like, just be aware and then tell on yourself, and then just make a choice from there. And every time we see ourselves doing it, if we choose to just recognize it, be like, oh, interesting, instead of don't beat yourself up about it, because nobody wins when that mind space is going on. But every time we catch that, we can find more compassion for our clients. I remember once, years ago, hearing a senior yoga teacher frustrated and sharing with me, peer to peer, and saying, what is it? Like, I tell them 3 freaking times and they won't do it. And I was like, they can't hear you. Like, they've got all kinds of stuff going on and they're human. So every time I catch myself doing a thing, I'm like, that's not going to pay well for you later. Oh, that's right. Then I remember my clients need reminding too. It's not that they're not listening or that, they're not, they don't think I'm, whatever this other practitioner brought up. It's not about me. It's not personal, because we do it to ourselves. So if we can expect that we do it to ourselves, our clients are doing it too. They just need gentle reminders. It's a pattern in your body. It's just a gentle reminder enough times that then it'll click. And that leads me to pain is motivating. So by the time someone's been here enough to generate an injury and they have pain and they come to us, great, we have their attention until the pain goes away. The memory of pain is not an attention grabber. Pain itself is an attention grabber. So that's why it's so important for us to message in that window of pain, because whatever we give them there as nuggets is going to land. So we want to be really thoughtful, not, make insults or have them think it's about us. You're not listening to me. None of that. You're weak. None of that stuff. Because we want to say to them, look, that pain that you had in your back, I totally get it, by the way. That pain that you had in your back is caused by this, because now we've got to the genesis. That's what we all just did right here, right? Someone's slouching, they're in pain in our waiting area. We know that their pain is caused by intrinsic weakness or intrinsic non-engagement that caused the misalignment that got them into trouble with whatever it was they were doing. It wasn't the gardening. It was the lack of intrinsic strength while they were gardening. It wasn't the yoga. It was their out of alignment posture in the yoga. It's never the thing. It's the body that comes, right? So we can say to them, look, I get it. Your back pain's real. And we just found the source of it. And we can prevent it from happening again. Here's how. Not, you have to do 10 of these exercises. Nobody wants a list of things to do. And if they did, they would do them until the pain's gone. And then they forget. So you want to tie it to how they're designed. And that's really how you give them tons of value, right? I like to slouch just like the rest of us. I love to. I'm hypermobile. I don't have a whole lot of intrinsic strength. I like to be slouchy. I like to be an accordion. I like to fold up and look like a giraffe in a backyard pool. I like to just be squished all in. And I like that. And I know that what I really want is to feel strong and able. I don't want to be reminded of my pain, but I remember enough what causes the pain, and I'm focused on the cause and making sure I'm not causing the pain by doing the things I get to do for my body. I have pillows all over me so that I sit upright, because it's so tempting to slouch because of my hypermobility. I could slouch all day long and then not be able to walk at the end of the week. I don't want that. And I don't want my pain to remind me. Pain doesn't really remind people typically. It gets their attention, but it doesn't remind them. So we get to tie it together. This is what caused your pain. That's real. We can prevent it going forward. The same way we're going to resolve it is the prevention. And just keep reminding them of that so that they, like you, Lori, make a choice of sitting upright when they would rather lean on their arm. And like you, Noelle, they make a choice of sitting upright when they catch themselves in all these freaking habits that are the opposite. They're like, oh, but I do this, but I'd rather do that. Why do I? Oh, right, because it causes pain. Yeah, I could do this. I could totally do this for 5 minutes. Oh, I'm doing the thing again, but I'd rather do this because I'd rather be out of pain. So we're empowering them to make lifestyle choices that prevent their pain in the same way that we remedy the problem. And that's the significance and the power, really, of messaging in a way that invites them instead of scolds them. Awesome. All right. So that's it. That's one posture that gives us a structural intel on what's really going on for someone.
Okay.
Yeah, great. The next thing I would ask you guys to do, maybe if you want to do for homework or just think about it, what pain symptoms do you think folks could come in with if they're slouchers? So they come in with a symptom and we know that's not really where we get to go. Oh, my left arm hurts, my right hip hurts, my left knee, my right ankle. Great, I'm not going to work there. So what kind of symptoms do you think could be generated by someone who is not engaging intrinsically, that looks like this when they're waiting for you?
I would think their lower back would be a key one because they're constantly tweaking it one way or the other.
Great. Any others?
Like any neck muscles, upper traps. Usually when I'm here, I'm kind of this way or rounded. You know, my spine's in flexion more. I don't have my seahorse, my curves. So actually, let me just think about this. Any of the areas, which is basically the whole body, or this part of my body could be in. Oops, I gotta fly, guys.
Bye.
Okay, I was thinking anything that any part of their body that was connected to their spine could be in pain, whether it be their neck, whether it be, you know, the middle of their back, their lower back, their pelvis, and anything that is going all the way connected to that spine that's out of alignment.
Exactly, which is head to toe, basically, right? Head to toe could generate pain symptoms. And so as a practitioner who's not yet thinking in this way, you could start running around trying to solve the problem, and it's one thing. It's not, you know, only one, like you get to, it's a encompassing one thing, but it's one thing. It's the same thing that causes shoulder pain can cause back pain, can cause hip pain, can cause knee pain. And so we want to, instead of bounce around to all those joints, chasing it, know that without intrinsic strength, the pain's not going to go away and stay away because of that bony alignment and then what it does to the muscles. Yeah. All right. This was super fun for me. We have more postures we could talk about at any time. Thank you for playing. And thanks for catching yourself, Noelle.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay,
have a great day.
You too. I'll see you guys next week for more Tuesday